If you've ever been asked why your team spends so much time, money, and energy on events, you are not alone. Development director once asked me, how do we justify spending all these resources on events? Like, how do we know they lead to raising money? Explain it to me like I'm 12. And snottiness aside, it honestly is a fair question because we feel like events matter, but explaining in more scientific terms how they matter to leadership in a way that they find satisfying, it's really hard. And why is that hard? Well, because most alumni relations and event teams are doing really good work, but in systems that are not really designed to measure what we do very well. We're often compared to gift officers whose work is much easier to quantify: dollars raised, proposals written, visits had. But meanwhile, our work is one to many relationships. It encompasses so many different tactics to engage people. And it's really hard to pinpoint that this event, this one event, or even all of our events, how is that the thing that is compelling people to donate? So when somebody asks, was this event worth it or was it strategic? They're asking a really impossible question. So, at least in my experience, I would feel very defensive when I get this question. Here we were doing this amazing work and getting all these people to come and being asked, why does what you're doing matter? So I would get a little defensive instead of trying to explain it. And the way that I would defend it, which is true, is that the industry data shows that people who attend events give more often and more money than people who don't attend. They also volunteer more, they advocate more, and there is a correlation. So, not causation in that they went to the event and then they gave, but correlation. Again, people who attend events give more money, volunteer more, advocate more. But the complicated truth is that a lot of times our peers and colleagues want to know, yeah, but did that event trigger this gift? If not, why are you doing it? But it's rare, extremely rare, that somebody at an event is just so inspired by the people they're meeting and the content they're hearing that they just stand up and throw money at us. It's really, really rare. It's really not what our events are designed to do anyway, unless it's some kind of auction or tournament or something like that. But otherwise, it's really not a clean line between event attendance and giving. There's so many other variables in there, so many other tactics that we're doing as well as events, that it's really hard to pinpoint that. And so that's tension. That's, how do we justify doing all these events? Well, also, when you say, well, we know that event attendance and giving correlate, then you think, well, let's just do more events. Let's get more people coming to stuff. And then naturally, more people will give. And this leads to what I call the event treadmill. So as soon as the one event ends, you're on to the next and the next and the next. And then you just become an event planner, not an engagement officer. And I'll talk about that in future videos. But what it means is that there's very little time to pause and ask, like, who actually came to this? Are they the right people in the right room at the right time? Did we follow up with them to move them to the next form of engagement or to broaden or deepen their relationship with the place? When you do so many events, you just feel like you're busy, but are you actually acting with strategery, I call it. So through the series of these videos that I'm doing, I want to encourage you to think about events not as the end goal. They are not the outcome. Your goals and outcomes are things like deepen relationships, build communities, secure bigger and more gifts, attract talented volunteers and new donors, new mentors, and instill even more pride in your brand so that they'll go out and be ambassadors for you. Events are just one tactic that help you achieve those goals of developing community, et cetera. And when you see that events are not your end game, when you see that they are just the vessel through which people interact with your cause, then how you approach events and how you follow up, how you structure the content at the event, who you invite, how you invite, all of that changes. And you really learn to see them as, again, just a tactic. And instead of So one thing that I'll talk about later, but I want to tee up now, is when somebody attends your event, they are raising their hands to say, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing. I care. I got a babysitter. I bought a new dress. I ditched my book club for tonight. They showed up for you. They like you. They want to be engaged with you. They want you to reach back out. So you invited them. They came. Now it's your move. So what are you going to do? And that's engagement. That is turning from an event planner to an engagement officer. So this video going and the series here will talk about some of these other mind shifts and also give you some practical tactics and tweaks for the events that you have. I will not talk about overhauling your entire event strategy or by doing more and more and more events. I would say about 95% of the professionals that I've consulted with about event strategies are doing mostly the right things. They're looking at their institutions or their organization's big picture, and they're plugging into the audiences and the brand and the types of events that they want people to do. That's not the issue. The issue is making the most of those events that they're already doing and producing really well. So hopefully by the end of this series, you will think about events a little bit different. If this way of thinking about events is useful, the full framework is laid out in my mini book called Connect and Convert 11 Ways to Turn Event Attendees into Advocates, Volunteers, and Donors. It's about a 15-20-minute read, and it's designed for people who want to make the most of their events and who need to explain their work inside their organizations. There's a link below if you'd like to read it. Also, if it'd be helpful, I am a consultant and I work directly with teams to apply this thinking in ways that are tailored to your goals and your structure and the resources that you actually have. In the next video, we'll talk about that mind shift change, about the difference between planning events and doing engagement work.